What is going on, everybody? This is Audible Sports Kids. How's it going, everyone? Brett and Jeff here. How's it going, Brett?
Good.
Good.
Excited.
You know, it's March Madness. It's been a lot of madness so far. We'll talk a little bit about, the bracket and everything in a little bit, but even with all this madness, it's mostly been madness in the football world. In the NFL, yes, there's been lots of, upsets, Cinderella stories going on, but
I think they're equally as mad.
I would say when it comes to the Twitter world, it's definitely been the NFL leading the cause with all these crazy madness trades, signings, and everything. So we thought it'd be a good idea. Yes, free agency isn't over. There's still a draft to go, but kind of our winners and losers of the NFL world and its offseason so far. So hey, let's just go.
I think we should start out with losers.
Oh, you
Sorry.
Okay? If you want to go straight into losers, let's do it.
I think that's more entertaining for the folks at home.
All right,
in my opinion.
Let's give some of our losers then. Brett, why don't you give the people your top 5 losers of the NFL offseason so far?
Well, I think number 1 on the list is the obvious one, the Jags. I just think some people may not see it player-wise, but I see it contract-wise. And then I'm going to have the Packers, the Browns, the Cowboys, and the Patriots.
Yeah, I definitely agree with kind of the Jaguars. They're doing what they need to do and bringing in guys to help their hopeful franchise quarterback. But some of the players they're going for, everyone's saying they're overpaying for a guy like Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. And yes, they're good players, but at the same time you have to make sure you're not overloading the market, because if there is a chance where these things work out, then you're kind of screwing yourself down the road for future. But at the same time, yeah, and they're getting some O-line help. Brandon Sheriff, pretty good guy, but he's always had trouble staying on the field when it comes to health. So it's kind of, yes, they're doing the right thing, but it seems like they're doing the wrong thing at the same time. It's very interesting, kind of looking at the way the Jags are looking at free agency. But hey, they're doing what they need to do. But it's interesting with a lot of, with the Patriots, they spent so much money last year. I don't think anyone expects them to do much, but at the same time, they're letting a lot of their key guys go. J.C. Jackson, one of the, we'll talk about the team later that he signed with, but just guys that you really should keep if you want to compete in a very heavy AFC that the Patriots kind of just seem to let go.
Yeah, they do this every year, though, to be honest. So
that is true, but
what's your 5?
So my 5, you started from your top, but I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna do my starting at 5. 5 Lions. It's the Lions. You have to put them on any kind of. They haven't really done anything, so I'm putting them at 5. Colts 4. Yes, they just traded for Matt Ryan, but I'd like to see what they're gonna put around him before I called this offseason a win. Cowboys, they let a lot of their some key guys go, and maybe resign the wrong ones. We'll see. And then Jaguars, like you, and then at number 1, you'll never guess what my number 1 is. It's not one team. My number 1 loser of the NFL offseason so far is the NFC South, except the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Interesting.
Because Tom Brady comes back, kind of completely changes the trajectory of that division, and all 3 of those other teams, the teams that I call the number 1 loser, missed out.
Don't have a quarterback.
Well, yes, the Saints just re-signed Jameis, but all 3 of those teams were in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, and 2 of those teams, the Saints and Falcons, were said to have been, that one of them is going to get them, and they miss out on them. And it's been kind of a rough offseason. Yeah, the Saints have drastically gotten themselves so much money, but that's something they're gonna have to deal with every year now until eventually it will catch up with them. They can't just keep pushing money back and back and back. So I think just when looking at the way the NFC South has kind of gone, it just is nothing's been good for them. Yeah, there's been some good signings here and there, but I can't think of a better loser than kind of having to think that you're not going to have to deal with Tom Brady anymore. The next thing you know, he's back, he's ready to tear up your division, and now none of you have done anything to help you get kind of better. Yeah, they've done a few things, but I don't think any of these teams have really gotten better this offseason.
That's fair.
But I mean, something interesting from your list though, the Browns. You don't think that trade can do?
I think the Amari Cooper trade. Amari Cooper hasn't had a great year in a few years, and Deshaun Watson. I don't think the troubles. He's not out of trouble. He's not out of the hot water yet. Second, I don't like the way they structured the contract. It makes them and him look shady and slimy, and it makes him look guilty.
Yeah, I agree with that. The fact that they didn't give any players away for that trade made me kind of feel like they were winners in the beginning. But when you think about that contract, and
I worry about
it's
this.
Just the fact he's not out of the water yet.
I feel like the NFL is a loser for that contract. For the simple fact is, there's going to be guys now who are in legal trouble who get contracts just like this, so they can get suspended and still get $30 million for the year because they structured it this way.
And also,
the only winner is his agent. That's it.
Yeah, that's true. I would say the winners of that contract are the quarterbacks who need new contracts next year. Looking at Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, among a couple others that. Justin Herbert.
That's scary to think that those guys are going to get more than that.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert is probably going to break the bank. I mean, all three of these quarterbacks will definitely be breaking the bank, and the fact that we've seen past contracts of fully guaranteed. Kirk Cousins kind of started that, and he continues it. Even got a new contract, a new setup for his contract this offseason. But these three guys, you can see they're probably going to get these lucrative long-term deals with lots of guarantees, especially when you think of the injury situations they've dealt with, and they want to make sure they get their money. And I'm always for players getting their money. Get every money you can, take away from the billionaires. So
but they're not really taking away from the billionaires.
I mean, if you look at it and consider the salary cap in the situation it is, yes. But you gotta get your money while you can. So you can. The Browns definitely.
Do you also gotta touch the massage therapist while you can too?
Well,
too soon.
Deshaun Watson definitely. He's not out of the water yet. I'd like to maybe, and I mean the NFL might still suspend him. So we'll see.
I would rather see Colin Kaepernick get a contract like that over Deshaun Watson at this point.
I mean, honestly, definitely with. It's just.
I just feel like sometimes the priorities of the NFL are so screwed up, or pro sports in general.
Yeah, definitely.
Are so screwed up because, okay, I was never the biggest Kaepernick, that whole situation. I'm not going to go into it, but his at least has some merit to it. Why he did what he did. Where Deshaun Watson just has a super hot girlfriend, and at some point he was contacting like 100 masseuses online, so there is some merit to it. But the NFL has rewarded bad people for a long time, the NFL especially.
Oh yeah, definitely. And hopefully maybe we'll see some change. I mean, there's still the Brian Flores situation, but I doubt that goes anywhere just looking at what the NFL is. So it's very unfortunate. And I mean,
well, I guess we'll see in the Flores what kind of evidence they can dig up.
Yeah,
with technology, that if he got paid, there has to be some trail to it.
Yeah, definitely. And
if they can't find a trail, he's lying.
Well, that doesn't always mean it, but it's more than likely, yes. But hopefully same with the winners we're about to say. Only time will tell how some of these contracts and trades will stack up. We're calling the Browns a loser right now, and they could go on to win the Super Bowl, and Deshaun Watson doesn't even get suspended, which makes then the NFL a loser, in my opinion, more than the team.
Correct. Well, legally he hasn't done anything wrong yet, so they can't.
Legally, but hey, if you know the Black Sox scandal back in the early 1900s, all those players were not guilty, yet they were still suspended indefinitely.
Yep.
So anything can happen.
My guess is on the winners, we should have at least 2 that are the same, maybe 3.
Oh, we definitely will. So let's go. Hey, let's just go. We've talked enough about some losers. Let's talk about some real winners here. And I'll go first this time. Starting with number 5. You had the Packers on your losers. I have the Packers on my winners. Not only yes, they lost Devontae Adams, and it sucks. Probably made Aaron Rodgers a little mad. But if they really want to keep Aaron Rodgers happy. And keep in mind, they re-signed a lot of these key guys that they needed to. They now have 2 firsts and 2 seconds to play around with and get the guys that they need, a.k.a. Aaron Rodgers, another weapon or two, maybe some offensive line help, get some defensive pieces. They can do that with the picks they have now if they are smart in drafting, which
maybe
Packers have kind of a long history of drafting smart. So we're not going to talk, except the Jordan Love thing. This Jordan Love thing. That might make them a loser eventually down the line, but that's my number 5. Number 4, I got the Houston Texans, able to get rid of Deshaun Watson, his contract and all that, and getting a buttload of picks to help a rebuilding team come back and to put pieces around Davis Mills, who I think could potentially be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Well, they should draft one to compete with him and then go from there.
Maybe. We'll see kind of what falls to them. I would say maybe with that early second they have, but we'll see. 3, I got the Bengals. Offensive line was very troubled last year. They went out and have so far gotten 3 new offensive linemen, including La'el Collins, who can start at right tackle, with draft capital to change that even more, or just continue to add to a team that will need it in a very tough AFC. And then number 2, staying in the division, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not only were they able to sign some key free agents like Miles Jack, add to the offensive lineman and a couple guys, and a competing quarterback in Mitch Trubisky, they did it all without a GM. They're still looking for a new GM. And so that's pretty crazy to me. And
we'll just say, shows, Mike Tomlin has the credibility. He should just be the GM and coach.
It might come down to that point if they can't find the guy they're looking for, which I think if anyone in the NFL other than Bill Belichick can do it, it's Mike Tomlin. And then at number 1, just like with the losers, I'm cheating a little bit here, but I'm saying the entire AFC West is a winner and at the same time a loser, just because with how stacked those teams are,
just gonna kill each other.
They're just gonna kill each other. But you have to, as a fan, you have to be excited for what those teams are and the competition that you've really. I mean, you can say you've seen that in divisions like the NFC West this year, but it's just all 4 of those teams have a chance, and it's gonna be fun football. They have a lot of high-powered pieces. They all got, you look at the Chargers, they trade for Khalil Mack. They got J.C. Jackson out of the offseason. They re-signed, some of their key guys like Mike Williams. And just a lot of these teams got a lot better. I mean, we talked about Devontae Adams with the Packers. Yeah, they traded a lot for him, but they got their number 1 wide receiver to go with a couple other guys that are pretty good at catching.
And they had the picks to get rid of, so
yes.
That's the way I see it.
They're trying to win now while they can. They have what a lot of people call a really good offensive mind at head coach, Josh McDaniels. And so, hey, give Derek Carr what it takes. So that, I mean, and yes, all those teams got better, and everyone's like, oh, what about they're all chasing the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs got better too. They haven't really lost anyone that is very, very. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, yes, but they went out and got Justin Reed from the Texans, who I think could be a very good piece for them. And they're still draft too, to keep in mind. I'm sure they're going to get some guys there, but they also added Juju Smith-Schuster, who I think could be a really good wide receiver, and they got him on a prove it type deal.
Healthy.
Well, if not, then they've only lost a handful. It was only
because what if he's the Sammy Watkins 2.0 for them?
Which could be very good, and they got him on a very cheap deal for the year, and could potentially lead to a future extension down the road, because Tyreek Hill needs a new contract. So they're giving themselves a little bit of leeway too, and potentially So we'll see. I think it's just gonna be fun.
It is gonna be fun and exciting. I didn't know we could cheat the system like you did, so mine is.
Hey, it's like the Patriots. There's always a way.
I had the AFC West on my list, all 3 teams except for the Chiefs.
All right, well, hey, let's hear your list.
I'm not gonna do mine in any particular, like 1, 2, 3. We'll just do it. I got the Bucks. I just think with Brady, and that's all I gotta say is Brady.
That's all you need to say.
The Texans. With their draft picks they got, I mean, they obviously won, and they got rid of Watson, so they got rid of that problem. Then I have the Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders.
All right, yeah, pretty much, yeah. They all
Because I
need
don't
that.
look at I don't like what they gave for Adams, but most teams don't have that draft capital to be able to afford something like that.
Yeah,
They did.
there's always that age old story like, oh, would you rather keep the picks? Picks aren't always a
Well,
guarantee.
it depends what
So
team you are.
if you're the
The
Cleveland,
Raiders and the Raiders have not had good luck with first round picks. So
that's pretty true. I mean, when you look at what they traded for Khalil Mack, or they traded to get rid of Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, you can argue they didn't really get much with those picks, or really anything other.
most of those players are in jail or suspended or not in the NFL.
Well, John Abrams still on their team, so yeah, it's just there's always that story like, oh, would you rather have the picks or have someone who can help you win right now, and those picks aren't always a guarantee. Yeah, the player you trade for isn't always a guarantee, but Devontae Adams, Derek Carr.
I think you can look at that there, right there. What you just said. Sorry for cutting you off. Is
Oh no, you're good.
you got Derek Carr's only got X amount of years left. You just got him as friend, who
Oh, yeah.
happens to be in. I mean, this could vary a little, but the number one receiver in the NFL.
He's being paid definitely like number one, getting 28.
I mean,
million
it's
a year.
between him and Cooper Kupp right now, in my opinion.
I mean,
And you
yeah,
can go-
DeAndre Hopkins, who was hurt a little bit, but I'd still say he's up.
Just
there.
basing
Stephon
off last
Diggs.
year's stats, I
Okay,
think.
okay.
I don't think you can really put anyone else up with those two stat-wise
Oh,
last year.
definitely not. I mean, one of those guys you can argue should have won MVP.
Yeah, and I just think, they are maximizing. They're doing exactly the opposite of what the Packers are doing. They are maximizing what they can give their quarterback.
Yeah, and when you think about too, they went out and got Chandler Jones, a premier pass rusher too, who they signed him to a big contract, and you can just tell with what they're doing, they're trying to win right now, and they don't say they're saying screw the picks. It's kind of like the Rams last year. Screw the picks, get us what we need to win right now, and they feel that it takes. I mean, getting your quarterback happy and getting him his college teammate from Fresno State, and they've always for a couple years now, they've been saying they wanted to play together. So you almost saw that, kind of happening. And once whatever happened between him and the Packers organization, whether they did want to pay him more money or he just wanted to play elsewhere or whatever it was,
I think it was
Adams-
accumulation of a few things. I think it was the uncertainty of Aaron Rodgers. He could just retire halfway through the season, and then he's screwed.
I mean, maybe their last dance photo from last year, Devontae Adams knew he's going to be a Raider after the season.
Yeah.
Who knows? We never know, and that's honestly part of the fun and magic of the NFL. We hear certain stories. We hear one side. Some of the contracts we even hear that come out. That's not the real contracts. Some of that money that they say it can be up to isn't guaranteed. A lot of it's not guaranteed. So like when the Juju Smith-Schuster contract first came out, it was said it was a 1 year $10 million, but $7 million of that's in incentives. So it's like we only get, being an NFL fan and not being inside those rooms, we get only so much information, and I think that's what makes it so fun is we can have so many different speculations and are able to sit here and talk about it and give these people our sides of what we think. So it's just it's the amazing of sports and being a person from the outside looking in.
I mean, I was torn on putting the Bears on the list as a winner for not overpaying Larry Obijuwonu. I know he played good. Here's my thing is he played good last year, but before that his career was subpar. And so does he go back to that? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the injury, and that's partially why we didn't sign him, because he failed the physical because of that injury. So yes, it's kind of great that we didn't sign him because of that, but that's what every contract. No one signs
What's
a contract.
scary to me is these contracts are getting so big. How can you fill an NFL roster with the cap the way it is?
And that's something we will talk about in how NFL caps maybe should change and how it never ends, and we're just gonna. That's
Not
why
for quarterbacks. It ends for the other positions. It kind of goes in waves for wide receivers, running backs, how they get
That's
paid.
why we see a lot of these teams that will try to build around a quarterback on a rookie deal, and once they kind of know their time frame on really what it is to win it, and then once they get them on those lucrative deals, they try to kind of put teams around them and hope for the best. But at the same time, some of these young guys should maybe look at what a certain Tom Brady has done for over 20 years now. And yes,
he never took the biggest contract as a quarterback. Never. Today's just
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's never the highest paid guy out there, but he's still making pretty good money. And, I mean, some of these young guys maybe have to realize that they need to take some team-friendlier deals if they want to continue. When we might see that with maybe Patrick Mahomes if he wants to, keep that team around him. So we'll see. These teams can't be pushing all this money down the line forever. I'm sure that'll be changed at some time. The Saints... That's just one of these teams that are dealing with it now every year, and hopefully it just can't last forever. But speaking of some more madness, right before we let you go, we thought it'd be a good idea, now that we're into the Sweet 16, everyone's brackets are busted, to give...
Mine is completely imploded. It did after the first day.
Same with a lot of others, but we'll give you, just kind of quick what we think's going to happen.
You got one that's doing pretty good.
Yeah, but it's just give it time. Just give it some time. But, we have the Sweet 16 coming up. Talk about a little bit of Sweet 16, going to Elite 8, and then, next week we'll talk about the Final Four once all those teams are set. But just to give you, kind of a recap, we have, in the Sweet 16, we have Gonzaga versus Arkansas, Texas Tech versus Duke, then UNC versus UCLA, Purdue versus St. Petersburg, the big Cinderella story right now. Then we have Iowa State versus Miami, Kansas versus Providence, Michigan versus Villanova, and then Arizona versus Houston.
I'm going to ask you an embarrassing question right now. Where is St. Peter's located?
New Jersey City.
I feel like I've never really heard... They're not a familiar team to me too much.
Well, that's why they're the great Cinderella story they are right now. Heading to the Sweet 16. Hey, let's start right there. St. Petersburg versus Purdue. How you feeling?
I mean, now that my bracket's shot, I have Purdue going pretty far in this. So, in my opinion now, I like Purdue. So, I got to pick Purdue on this one. I'm not going to pick the Cinderella story on this one. I think Purdue's a strong team here.
Yeah, I mean, I have in my original bracket, I have Purdue going pretty far. But you know what? Let's have the Cinderella story continuing. I'm gonna take St. Petersburg, and all my Purdue fans are gonna hate me. Or I want to say friends, but do I have friends? Who knows?
I'm gonna steal one of your lines, but
any given Sunday.
Yes,
but it's
it still pertains in a way.
Any given March.
In a way, yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of the teams out of that, I believe, West bracket. Yeah, the East bracket, my bad. Just Baylor's getting upset. We have, Purdue potentially right here getting upset. We have, Kentucky was, they're the ones who lost to St. Petersburg. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens in that game. Purdue, really good team.
Well, Kentucky's the Lakers of college basketball, so.
Oh well, there's some, maybe Duke.
What I mean by that is people just don't know. It's the hatred for Kentucky, kind of like the hatred for the Lakers right now.
So would you call North Carolina the Boston Celtics of?
Yeah, you could. One could say, but I don't think they get the talent pool that Kentucky gets. No one does.
Duke seems to. I mean,
they did.
Hey,
they did.
That's
Coach K. After Coach K's gone, we don't know what's going to happen to that team.
We're going to talk about him in a second here, but let's move on to North Carolina versus UCLA. Two very good programs, very good teams. What do you think's happening?
I'm going to go with UNC on this one, just because of what I've seen from them so far this year. But you never know.
Yeah, I'm going UNC too. I might be pushing my strings a little bit here, but. They looked, at times really good against that Baylor team. Keep in mind the defending champs It's a Baylor team. So, I'm going to go UNC here too. Speaking of Coach K, we got Duke, Texas Tech. Is Coach K going to continue his final season? Or is he going home into retirement without a championship this year?
I'm going to pick Duke right now just because I hope they win for his sake because he's Coach K. You don't even have to say his last name.
I mostly don't want to try to pronounce it because I probably will mess it up here to everybody. But yeah, I'm gonna go Duke here. I love the Cinderella story. I love the going off in the sunset. So I hope maybe they'll see each other here soon. But we got Gonzaga, which I would argue is probably the best team left in the tournament, versus Arkansas.
See, I'm going to pick Gonzaga only because I don't know that much about Arkansas compared to what I know about some of these other teams.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you with that. And once again, we are picking the same team 3 times in a row. Next up, speaking of teams that people call some of the best, we have 2 really good teams here. We got Arizona versus Houston. Houston, once again, I think it's the 3rd straight year they're in the Sweet 16. Arizona, they've been one of the best teams kind of the last while. Pretty wild.
30 years.
Yeah. So, what you got here?
I'm going to pick Houston just because they have a lot of some of the same players that made it this far last year. So, they have some experience in this level of tournament play. And I don't know.
Well, I'm kind of biased when it comes to this. I got some, not Arizona blood per se, but I have some family that roots for Arizona, so I'm gonna stick with Arizona, who I originally have winning this game in my bracket. Next up, we got Michigan versus Villanova. I mean, Michigan's we had this conversation earlier the other day, just kind of a team no one expected. Questioned how the head coach was even allowed in the tournament, whether we agree with, him being suspended or not. And then Villanova, one of the most complete teams that are in the tournament still.
You got 2 good basketball lineage schools, too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go Michigan just because I want to see an upset.
Well, you might like the upset, but I'm sticking to what I have winning the bracket with Villanova. And I'm tired of picking the same team as you, so that's why I'm... All right, final of the Sweet 16, final 2 games. We got Kansas Providence. All these teams are good. We're at this point in, the bracket where all these teams are good. Just making it, you're a good team. So what do you got here, Brett?
I'm going to go Kansas.
As am I. Last but not least for the Sweet 16, we have Iowa State and Miami. Iowa State, I'm taking Iowa State. They won 2 games last year.
I'm taking them too.
I love the story. I love it. And the fact they beat Wisconsin, I'm sure everyone around you loves that too.
Yeah, I don't ever have super high expectations for Wisconsin because of just the way their teams are built. I don't know.
Now move on to the Elite 8 real quick, even though some of us have some different picks here. Elite 8, Gonzaga versus Duke. Who do you have going to the Final Four?
I'm just gonna roll with Duke because it's Coach K's last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the opposite of you. I'm gonna go with Gonzaga or Gonzaga, whatever you prefer me to say. I will say both. So that's who I have going. Let's see, your Elite 8, Houston versus Michigan. Who do you have winning that?
I have Michigan.
Okay. I will take Villanova because mostly that's the thing that's going to keep my bracket alive, which, fun fact now.
My bracket is dead, so I can pick whatever I want now.
Well, I have a chance still, okay? I am on ESPN ranked like 106,000th out of like probably 20 million brackets, so I got to keep it
Maybe
going.
more.
Maybe more, maybe a billion. I doubt it, but who knows?
Yeah.
All right. The final 2, Iowa State versus Kansas. Does Iowa State keep their amazing season going, or do the Birds and the Jayhawks think otherwise?
I'm gonna go Jayhawks, but that's me.
I'm staying with Iowa State. Those Birds don't seem too loud for this one, so I heard a chirp there, but I'm not. I'm going with Iowa State, and then last but not least, yours is Purdue versus UNC. Who do you got? I'm
gonna go Purdue. I'm gonna go Big Ten.
Sticking with the Big Ten, and then I have St. Petersburg versus UNC. Dude, does the Cinderella story continue into the Final Four? Does St. Petersburg beat North Carolina? Yes, they do. St. Petersburg, welcome to the Final Four. If that happens, I don't know what I'll do, but probably not much because
Do you have them winning?
No, I have them winning to go to the Final Four.
That's what I meant.
North Carolina. But do I'm still
sticking if you get this win, that's gonna move you under 100,000, I think.
No, but this, you gotta think, I don't have this in my bracket. I only have this over I had Kentucky going to like my Elite 8.
Okay.
So St. Petersburg, I have Purdue beating Kentucky in my bracket. So I have So I have Baylor coming out of this section, but Baylor lost to North Carolina. So hey, we'll see. Maybe St. Petersburg wins it all, and it's everyone's happy over in Jersey, but you don't see that too much happening. So, but that's kind of all we got for you right now. Just a lot of madness, football, basketball.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, hockey.
It is madness.
We're seeing a lot of trades too. Hey, don't forget about the women's March Madness bracket too. There's been some pretty fun games. A lot of blowouts, a lot of upsets, just like in the men's
hopefully
bracket.
we have some more NFL news to talk about on our next segment.
I would hope so. So that's all we got for you, everyone. Hey, just happy March. Happy March.